Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy D. So happy to have you here. For my second video on my YouTube channel, I wanted to talk about my journey with endometriosis. It's a very long journey, but I'll try and cut it short as I can. So basically, when I was about 9 years old is when I actually started my periods. It was quite shocking. None of my friends had started their period at that age at all. And I remember speaking to my mum about it, and she was like, it's fine, don't worry, like maybe it's just a little bit of a blip and we'll kind of figure it out if obviously it becomes more regular. And they were, but they weren't painful at around about the nine years old mark, until I probably got to about 11 or 12 or 13. That's when they became really painful. I remember constantly kind of passing out with my monthly cycle, having to take time off school because I was bleeding so heavily, and all my friends around me weren't kind of experiencing this. So I did think it was quite unusual, but I just thought, oh well, maybe it's just normal. Anyway, maybe about 15 years old, no, let's say 14, I was really struggling at this point. So I spoke to my mum and we decided to go to the doctors. And we got an appointment. They said to me, it's fine, it's just a period, don't worry about it. They recommended that I went on the pill, so the contraceptive pill, and I went on microgynon. I think most teens went on microgynon if they were going to go on any form of contraceptive pill. So I went on that, and they were basically saying it's not a preventative for, we're not using it as like a contraception, we are just using it to kind of hopefully eliminate the pain that you're getting on your periods, and also to kind of maybe lighten your cycle flow. So obviously this sounded really positive, and I was really excited. Then yeah, it maybe helped for a bit. I wouldn't say it helped dramatically, but maybe it kind of took the edge off the bleeding amount. But I was still in this exactly same pain, and it was just kind of draining and a bit yeah, just a little bit jarring, to be honest. So I kept on telling my mum about it, and then we kept on going to the doctors, and the doctors just kept on saying it's a normal period, don't panic, don't worry about it, which is kind of really frustrating. But I persevered, and then at about 17 years old, I actually got an appointment with a gynecologist at our local hospital at the time, and she was really quite rude about it. She was like, you're 17, you're fine, it's just a period, you just need to get over it and, you know, be stronger than what you are being. It can't be that bad, it's just a period. And I was like, these are the amount of times I've passed out, these are the amount of times I've been sick with the pain, these are the amount of times, and I just gave her a whole list, and she was kind of a bit like, oh, okay. So she basically said I wouldn't be able to have surgery, or they won't even look into surgery until I reached 18. So I literally booked in, I think the month before my 18th birthday maybe, and I had a surgery called a laparoscopy. And she said to my mum really nonchalantly, she'll be 20 minutes in the operating theatre, we're just going to have a look and there won't be anything there. 4.5 hours later, I'm still in like the recess area, like, you know, recovering. I'm not doing very well. My mum's panicking, obviously, thinking, what the heck is going on? My surgeon has come out and basically apologised to my mum and said, wow, that's the biggest amount of endometriosis I've seen on a 17-year-old. We're diagnosing her with stage 4 endometriosis now. Okay. It was basically on my uterus, it was on my fallopian tubes, it was on my uterus walls, it was on my bowel, it was on, you name where it was on there. So they removed it, so they excised it. So they used 2 methods. They used the burning method, so it would burn off the endometriosis, and then they also used the method where they would like physically chop it out of you. I'll put the name of that down here somewhere, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. And they basically said that I would be cured and it would be fine from then on. It took me about 6 weeks to recover. It was long. It was a very, very long process. I got an infection in my wounds. The after pain was just horrendous. I was bleeding. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant at all. And unfortunately, I was to go on to have 8 more of those surgeries. Yay me! Endometriosis pretty much took over my life. Fun. It definitely took a massive chunk of my teens and my 20s. Constantly in pain. Around about 18. Around about 20, I started to get very, very concerned that the endometriosis was affecting my fertility. By this point, I'd already had 3 surgeries. I'd moved to London. I'd now had 3 surgeries to try and remove more endo because it just kept on growing back, which it does. And during that time of when I started to become sexually active to around about 20 years old, I'd never once had a pregnancy scare. I'd never once, you know, thought, oh my goodness, am I pregnant? Which was my dream. I've always wanted to become a mother. So not having any sort of signs or symptoms that I would ever be pregnant, it was a bit worrying. So I went back to my consultant in London and we kind of talked about fertility and the endometriosis and how it has quite a big impact on one another. Unfortunately, my consultant wasn't as concerned as I was, which was really infuriating. He basically laughed at me and said, you're only 20, don't be silly, which seems to be quite a pattern when women have or people with uteruses have endometriosis. We get looked over, we get looked under, we don't get taken seriously, which is really, really annoying. So he basically said, you're young, you're single, you're fine. The NHS wouldn't even look at your case to look into your fertility, which kind of really broke my heart because I was there worried that I'd never ever be able to have children, and he was just, meh, never mind. So obviously I will talk about more of my IVF journey in the next video, because obviously this video is dedicated to my endometriosis journey, but it was then when I decided to look into private fertility clinics and to just double check my fertility, and I'm very glad I did. But as I said, stay tuned for the next video and you'll hear all about my infertility journey and IVF journey. So stay tuned for that. So continuing on the years to come after my 20th birthday, I have had 7 more surgeries since then. So basically it was pretty much 1 to 2 every year, which isn't common. Normally they are very, very reserved in wanting to do surgery because it is surgery, and you know, there is a risk, and you know, it impacts your life. The thing with me is all the precautions that we were trying to take so I didn't like suffer in pain, or I wasn't cramping, or it wasn't debilitating my life, just weren't working. And the only comfort and result I would get is straight after my surgery, maybe about a month or 2 after my surgery, and that would be for about 4 to 5 months, and then my pain would start again, and it would just be a constant cycle of that. So I have an amazing consultant. His name's Dr. Raza, who is at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital here in London. And he has done 7 of my surgeries now, and he's an amazing man and an amazing surgeon, and I would 100% recommend him if you are looking for an endometriosis specialist. We have done all of the endometriosis excision surgeries, all done laparoscopic, which are cameras poked into your lower abdomen, and then obviously the surgical utensils go into those cameras, and then they do the surgery like that. So it's keyhole surgery, so I'm not being cut open, I'm not being opened up, which is obviously less risky, which is amazing. So we have now, as I've said, done 9 surgeries. I'm smiling because it's quite comical. Unfortunately, as I said, most of them only worked for about 4 to 5 months, and then the pain would, you know, reoccur, and I then had to get booked in with Dr. Raza again and say, hello, help me please. I need fixing again. Basically in 2018, he said to me after my last surgery in October, he said, Daisy, this will be the last surgery I'm doing for you. Purely because obviously the more you open up somebody and the more you do treatment and surgery on somebody in their insides, you know, they're going to have a lot of scar tissue, a lot of nerve damage, which I do have. Not of fault of Dr. Raza. It's just how the human body heals and tries to correct itself and fix itself. So he basically said this will be the last endometriosis excision surgery we'll be doing. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? He said, well, now is either your time to go and do your IVF treatment and hopefully manage to carry a baby. He said, and I would definitely recommend doing it next year, so 2019, because I've allowed your body to kind of be fresh, your uterus is fresh. So basically get a move on. And he said the next surgery I will be doing for you, if you continue to have pain, if you continue to struggle with your endometriosis, will be a full hysterectomy. He said your endometriosis is now overtaking your uterus, it's overtaking your fallopian tubes, it's overtaking your vaginal canal, it's overtaking your bowel. We need to remove it, or before that, you need to try and have a baby, which I know is your goal. So I'm very, very grateful that he was also very on board with me trying to have a baby through IVF. Secret, that's the only way that I was ever going to fall pregnant. But I'll get into that on my next video, as I said. So he basically said, now is the time. I've had doctors say that to me before, which again, it's quite frustrating. But with Dr. Raza, I knew it was coming from a good place, and it was a guidance and advice for me to try and have what I've always wanted, which is a child. So yeah, that's pretty much my endometriosis story. The signs and symptoms that I personally had with endometriosis was severe pain, extreme bloatedness, severe bleeding, painful sex, couldn't use tampons because it was too painful, painful whilst going for a number 2, because obviously my endometriosis was on my bowel also. What else? Hormone imbalance, sometimes pain urinating, but not so severely because it wasn't on my urethra, which is great. What else did we have? Mood swings, sickness, body aches, backache, lower leg pain, headache, tension headaches here. And that's a list of, whoa. Oh, and never falling pregnant, because it affects your fertility, or could affect your fertility, I will say. So yeah, so basically in total of how many surgeries I've actually had 9 surgeries for my endometriosis. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to read from my phone, sorry, hope that's okay, of the timelines that I had my laparoscopy surgeries for my endo, just because I think that gives like a really good insight of actually how many and how close together they were. So 2010, I was 17, diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, 2 surgeries in the space of 6 months. 2012, third laparoscopy, that's when they found more endometriosis on the bowel. My left ovary was also removed during this. 2013, fourth laparoscopy, had adhesions from my bowel, and the remaining of my left ovary had to be removed a little bit more. This is now spread to my fallopian tubes and my vaginal wall. 2015, my 5th endometriosis surgery. I had 2 Mirena coils fitted in the last 5 years. I also had cysts burst on my right ovary. 2015 is when I had my first consultation with my IVF clinic. 2016, there was something there, but I'll leave that for my IVF journey video. 2016, my 6th surgery for endometriosis. It had got worse even with the coil being fitted, which is not normal. 2017, February, another cyst had burst on my right ovary, and my 7th laparoscopy. It wasn't so bad compared to the time before, but obviously it was only in the space of from August 2016 to February 2017, so we still hadn't given it a lot of time for it to grow back, which is obviously what happens. 2018, October, my 8th surgery. This was more adhesions plus an overall clear out. My surgeon then told me that this would be the last laparoscopy for my endometriosis that he would give me, and my next one would be a hysterectomy if my endometriosis told me to, if my endometriosis came back. This is when he told me that I should definitely persevere with my IVF treatment. And then I also had whilst I was, let me just double check. Yes, whilst I was dealing with my IVF journey, exciting, next video, in March of 2019, my clinic actually found out that I had what's called a bicornuate uterus. So your uterus is basically shaped like this, which is cute, not to grow a baby, it's not. So I had another surgery to fix and redeem that. So all in all, 10 surgeries, 9 for endometriosis, 1 to fix my uterus. Wonderful. And I'm 29. So yeah, list the names of the surgeries that I've had, and I'll put kind of the correct terminology of what I exactly had somewhere around here, because I think that is very, very helpful to know that there is different types of treatment that you can have, and when you are asking for surgery, if you are more knowledgeable of what surgeries that they can offer and give you, it shows them that you are also very clued up and you're not going to take any rubbish, and you're not just going to go for the easy one. That definitely happened to me on my first and second surgery. I had no clue and no idea about anything. So I definitely do feel like I have definitely clued myself up and definitely become an advocate of myself and my health, and just becoming better at doing that. With my endometriosis, some medications that I have tried most of the combined pills. So microgynon was my first, then I've tried other estrogen and progesterone pills, so combined pills. I've tried progesterone only pills, I've tried estrogen only pills. I've also had the Mirena coil, I've had the Depo-Provera injection. I have had no contraception at all. I have had the patches. Pain management that I've been on over the course of from 15 until 28. Yay! I have been on a lot, you know, the usual paracetamol. I can't take ibuprofen because I am asthmatic and it does affect me when I do take that, or have taken that in the past. Unfortunately, I am allergic to diclofenac and tranexamic acid, which is an anti-inflammatory, which is normally used for surgical procedures or people with endometriosis, which obviously is a bit of a bugger because I'm allergic to them. I then would normally have a guide list of the spectrum that I would take for when I was in pain. So it would start off at paracetamol, it would then go to cocodamol, it would then go to hydrocodone, it would then go to Oromorph. And as soon as I knew that I needed to take Oromorph at home, because I did have it prescribed, I knew that was the time that I needed to kind of make my way into hospital, because as soon as I took my 3 doses in 24 hours, I knew I would need IV, I knew I would need a more controlled morphine administration via the hospital, and also maybe IV paracetamol or something like that. So that used to be my next port of call. So I had to go into the hospital quite a few times in my lifespan. That's also very draining and jarring, to constantly be in the hospital, constantly be admitted, constantly not be surrounded by friends and family because you're always in the hospital, you're always unwell. Endometriosis is a very alone disease. You do feel very alone, unfortunately. And this is why I want to raise awareness and spread awareness about it, and show you that there's other people in the world have got it, and we all stick together Endo sisters, and you know, we can conquer this. It might be tough, it will be tough, but we've got it. So endometriosis has pretty much controlled my life for the last decade. But it does get better, which is exciting. So I'm happy to share that with you in the next up and coming videos, and hopefully and pray for everybody else that yours also gets better. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you continue to join me on this journey of my YouTube channel. I'll put all of my links below to my social media platforms, so you can check me out over there. But looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!